ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be? For me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Panthers, Texans. I would have loved to have been wrong about this game, but this is what we pretty much expected. And I think every game that we've watched on primetime television to this point has gone exactly the way that we thought, maybe with the exception of Raiders-Ravens. And I didn't think that was going to be a blowout. I just didn't think the Raiders were going to win. But we thought that the Bears game against the Rams was going to be pretty much one-sided, and it was. Rams destroyed the Bears. We thought that the Monday night game with the Packers and the Lions was going to be one-sided, and the Packers destroyed the Lions. And we thought this was going to be a one-sided game. And I told you that the Panthers are very conservative. They weren't going to destroy the Texans. Like, this wasn't going to be, 38-3. But they were going to win this handily. And I don't know if the score actually does this game any justice, because I think the Panthers dominated the Texans way more than 24-9 illustrates. But a win's a win in the National Football League. And whether this thing was, 10-9 or 24-9, the Panthers will take it and head back to Carolina 3-0. Valiant effort by the Texans, and a rookie quarterback on a short week. You couldn't expect more from them than this. Davis Mills, I told you guys, he's unflappable, unfazed by the moment. You could see that this is a guy that is very calm back there. And if he had had more time tonight, maybe he would have played a little bit better. When he had time, he actually did not look half bad. I said the same thing about him last week when he played in relief of Tyrod Taylor in the second half against the Browns on the road. I said, this guy, the numbers don't do him any justice. I think he was 11 of 21 or something like that for like maybe 97 yards or maybe 110 yards or whatever, and no touchdowns and an interception. But I said, look, you watch the game and you're like, man, Davis Mills didn't look too bad. He didn't look too shabby back there. Same thing tonight. He didn't look that bad, but again, under duress. We've said this about the Texans. They're not going to be very good this year. And I think they may be compounding matters by not being coached all that great either. Now, I actually didn't think the defense played that bad tonight. But I'm not sure about David Culley. I told you guys the story about him electing to decline a penalty on 3rd and 15 that would have brought up 3rd and 10 and another opportunity to convert. They gained like 14 yards. It ended up being 4th and 1. And you're thinking, oh, he's declining because they're going to go for it. It's 4th and 1. No, they're declining it because they're going to punt. And you're like, what? What are you doing, dude? And you're the Texans. We view them differently than they view themselves. So it's not fair what I'm about to say. I'm going to say it anyway. You're the Texans. You stink. You're going to stink. And so what do you have to lose? You got a rookie quarterback in. You're going to have him in for the next probably 3 weeks or so until Tyrod Taylor is able to get his hamstring back together. And again, don't really get too comfortable with the idea of Tyrod Taylor coming back and playing the remainder of the season, because if it's not his hamstring again, it'll be something else with Tyrod Taylor. It's always something with Tyrod Taylor. So expect to have to play Davis Mills or some other quarterback again at some point this season. And so for me, I'm just looking at them and saying, you're not going to be very good this year. Why are you not going for it? You got all the momentum. It's 7-6. You've moved the football to start the second half. You're either at or a little bit beyond midfield. Either you kick the 57-yard field goal, which is why you have Joey Sly, because he's got a monster leg. Now, it's usually not accurate, but shit, what do you have to lose? Or you go for it on 4th and whatever it was, 3 or 4, whatever the end result was. Either you're going for it or you're kicking a field goal, but you can't punt in that situation. I get it. Your defense has been playing well, but You're the Texans. What are we doing here? Okay. And that's the thing that I'm not sure about with this coaching staff, specifically David Culley. I don't know. I'm not going to second guess the decisions that were made because it doesn't matter. They weren't going to win the game anyway. Had they gone for it and gotten the first down, or they kicked the field goal and made it, they still were probably going to lose the game anyway. But let's get to the Carolina Panthers because I do want to say a few things about them, and I do want to circle back to the Texans and get to your comments. So the Panthers are 3-0. This might have been the most painful victory for any team to this point of the young 2021 NFL season. You get the win, you're excited. They're going to get on that flight to head back to Charlotte. But although you're 3-0 and you want to celebrate, you got Christian McCaffrey now nursing an injury. We don't know the severity of it, but everyone's saying it's a hamstring. Now, he was in the damn tent for a pretty long time for it to just be a hamstring. Or just your normal, standard, run-of-the-mill, hamstring strain. That one looked like it could be a little bit more serious. We'll see. J.C. Horn, I initially thought that it was a, Achilles. Anytime I see a guy go down non-contact, start pointing towards the ankle, I get nervous because that's where the Achilles is, and I'm like, he can't put any weight on it. That's not good. So I always think automatically the worst, and I always hope that I'm wrong. I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night, as I tweeted out, so maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I'm hearing initial reports from guys like Ian Rappaport that this is a broken ankle. I mean, that's not good, but it's not season ending. We'll see what happens there. So, two of your better players, one of your young stars and J.C. Horn, and you're the biggest star in your team, the guy that really carries everything for you offensively. I talked about this after the first 2 weeks. Like, Christian McCaffrey, not only is he back, but they are riding his ass. I mean, they are strapping that saddle to his back, and they are riding his ass. I mean, you heard them say very casually, Christian McCaffrey's averaging about 30 touches a game. like that's nothing, okay? Like, that's normal in the NFL. The only other guy that could say that for any team in this league is Derrick Henry. Outside of that, there's no other player touching the football on average 30 times for their team a game. It's ridiculous that you just don't see that in the NFL very often anymore. So you know how big of a part of their offense he is. And without him, you saw how much they kind of slowed down offensively. They went from, DJ Moore, they had no answer. And you still got to worry about Christian McCaffrey to no Christian McCaffrey. We can just kind of hone in on DJ Moore. DJ Moore had 99 yards receiving when Christian McCaffrey left the game. What did he end with? 126. Okay. So he had 27 yards after McCaffrey left. And I don't know if there's a direct correlation there or not, but you do the math. Anyway, Sam Darnold looked good again, but I always come back to the Sam Darnold factor when I think about what the Panthers are doing and how well they're playing. I'm like, you guys are winning. Sam's playing well, but there have been opportunities for turnovers, and you've been on the right side of those things where Sam's fumbled or Sam's done something stupid, and you've recovered, or the ball's hit the ground harmlessly, and you're thinking, whew, Sam, don't do that. He had a couple of bad fumbles tonight where if that's recovered by Houston, it changes the whole complexion of the game. You get away with it tonight because both of those fumbles end up in the arms of Carolina Panthers players. However, next week against Dallas or some other team that's actually good, because you haven't played a good team, and I'm going to get to that in a second, that is actually good, that could actually be the difference between you winning a game or losing a game. So I still have my doubts about Sam Darnold's ball security, but he is playing well. That is for sure. He's being very confident in the pocket. He's getting the football to his playmakers, specifically DJ Moore. I shudder to think what this offense is going to look like without Christian McCaffrey, but I told you I love the fact that they went out and drafted Chuba Hubbard because he can give them everything McCaffrey can give them. He's just not Christian McCaffrey, but then again, who is other than Christian McCaffrey? So I think Chuba Hubbard can fill in. I thought that Royce Freeman actually looked pretty good in his brief opportunities tonight. So I think they'll have enough to offset the injury to a certain extent. They won't just fall off the face of the earth from not having McCaffrey. And they also got a lot of lessons in what to do without Christian McCaffrey last year. So that's also good for them to be able to fall back on as well. But he's such a big part of their offense. Not having him is going to stunt their growth offensively, but the defense is the main story for them. I mean, that's what I felt like they were going to be able to hang their hat on in this game. And moving forward, they were the number one defense coming in. I'd imagine that they'll be the number one defense going in next week as well, because I can't see another team playing someone in the circumstances that the Panthers were able to get the Texans in a short week, rookie quarterback making his first career NFL start. You had a feeling that they were going to be able to tee off on them, and they did. So I can't imagine anybody stifling another team's offense the way that the Panthers did the Texans tonight. And it's funny that I say that, because for as good as they played defensively, you look up and you're a Joey Slye missed extra point from this game being tied at halftime, and you're a Sam Darnold forced fumble being recovered by one of your own teammates away from potentially being down at the half if that thing gets recovered by the Texans instead of the Panthers. So it's crazy how well the defense played, but they almost were trailing at halftime or tied. So this Panthers defense is good. I talked about that ad nauseum on the podcast, and I talked about it, leading up to this game, that this defense is really good. Hopefully you got a glimpse of that tonight. They're going to play better competition, and that's the thing where I'm hesitant. I told you we did buy or sell with these teams that won in week number, 1 going into week 2, and I said I like what I'm seeing out of the Carolina Panthers. I like this defense, but they just haven't played anyone. You beat the Jets, you jump out on top of them early, and then they rally back and you hold on for dear life 19-14 against a Jets team that isn't very good. The next week, everyone was so excited about Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints and what they did to the Packers the previous week. And I'm like, that's still Jameis Winston. Trust me. I watched that Packers game. It's still Jameis Winston in there. He's still going to turn it over if you give him opportunities. And they did. And I said, that Saints team still isn't very good in my eyes. And the Panthers proved that. And good for them. That's family business. You know how that goes. But I don't think the Saints are very good. So you get another win against a team that I don't think is very good. Now, you still have to go out and stifle an offense that looked like world beaters the week before, but I thought that was fool's gold, and you proved that to me and hopefully everyone else. This week you get the Texans. They're not a very good team. And so, and then they're coming off of a short week without Tyrod Taylor. You knew what was going to happen. I think your first true test comes next week, and I'm not saying the Cowboys are all great and they're excellent and any of that, but they'll be the first real NFL offense you faced all season long. And without Christian McCaffrey, that's going to be a test for your offense as well to put up points and move the football as consistently as you have the first 3 weeks. So next week will be a really good opportunity for us to see how serious the Carolina Panthers are about making a season out of this great start for them at 3-0. But they were able to move the football with Sam Darnold, who threw for over 300 yards. Again, I think this is the second time in 3 weeks he's thrown for over 300 yards. And he's been really solid for them. Hasn't really turned it over from a interception standpoint. But again, the ball security to me is an issue in the pocket. I think that's his third fumble. He had 2 of them tonight. I think he had 1 previous to this week already. So that is something I worry about with Sam Darnold is ball security. And sometimes he will put the ball in harm's way in the air as well. But I thought he was really solid. He continues to show his toughness. Had a couple of rushing touchdowns tonight. Those proved to be the difference in the game. He's showing the willingness to use his legs when necessary. He's showing the ability to throw it on the move, which was something that he was good at coming out of USC. And what you're seeing from this offense is they've got different weapons. Tommy Tremble with the touchdown tonight. That was good to see, getting the young tight end involved. And there are other guys. I'm a big Robbie Anderson fan. Really wasn't a big part of the offense tonight, but we all know what Robbie Anderson is capable of doing. I still think that there are levels to how they can unlock this offense, because we still haven't seen a ton from Marshall, their second-round rookie receiver out of LSU. So they have talent on the offensive side of the football without Christian McCaffrey, but he's such a big part of what they do. It'll be interesting to see how they adjust and adapt. But the defense is the story. Losing J.C. Horn for however long it is, we still don't know, is going to hurt them. But they have talent up front. The defensive line right now is playing at a high level. They're coming after teams aggressively. Brian Burns and Morgan Fox and Hassan Reddick and Yetur Gross-Matos and Derek Brown, they're loaded up front. So this is a group that I think has enough to really fluster and frustrate teams defensively and give themselves a chance. We'll see if they're able to do enough offensively, but I can't wait to see them against some real NFL offense. And I think that starts next week against Dallas. Now, circling back to the Texans real quick, I told you they've got some good players on their team. It's a shame because they're going to suck. They're going to be a 3-win team. Maybe Tyrod comes back, actually plays in 8 or 9 games this year. If he does that, they win 4 or 5 games then. But if he only plays in 6 games this season, they may win 3 games. But at the end of the day, they play in a bad division too, so that's going to help them. They got to win because they played Jacksonville. Had they played anybody else other than the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're probably winless right now. So I look at this Texans team and I say they didn't have Justin Reed tonight. He's probably their best defensive player. Brandon Cooks, I don't know why no one loves this guy, but all he does is just put up numbers. Had another 100-yard performance tonight. I think he's had, 100 yards in every game this season, if I'm not mistaken. Like, Brandon Cooks is that guy. For some reason, no one loves Cooks, and every time they get a chance, they offload him and trade him for another first-round pick. But he's going to put up numbers this year, no matter who the quarterback is. They got too many damn running backs, too many cooks in that kitchen with Ingram and Burkhead and what's the guy from David Johnson and my guy from the Broncos. They just got Philip Lindsay. They got too many damn running backs. Pick 2 guys, run with them, and keep the party going that way. And Ingram, if I haven't already mentioned him, I think I did. They have so many guys that they went out and signed this offseason. And it's just like they just threw a whole hodgepodge of guys together. It's just weird what they're doing in Houston. And I told you, I don't know if I necessarily love the coaching staff right now. It's good to see Lovey, though. It's good to see Lovey. Didn't even know he was over there as their defensive coordinator. But I got my suspicions about this David Culley guy. He might be the nicest guy. I'm hearing great things about him. I remember reading when he got the job a quote from the Jeremy Maclin, who was with the Eagles when Culley was with the Eagles. And he was like, I owe a lot of my success in my career to David Culley, and he's the best. And, he's going to be an excellent coach. And I'm thinking, he's a really nice guy. Everybody seems to love him. I haven't heard one person have anything negative to say about David Culley. But that doesn't make him, and he's been doing this for a long time as an assistant, doesn't make him an ideal candidate to be a head coach just because you've been doing this for a really long time. And I'm not loving some of the decisions that this guy's making to start his head coaching career, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. Anyway, let's get to your comments as the Carolina Panthers win the game 24-9, dominate the Houston Texans, move to 3-0 in the season, and now the Texans are 1-2. So we'll start out with this super chat real quick. Dejan Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Deshaun writes, should I start or bench Gibby this week? I mean, who else is on your team? I think that's the real question. Who else is on your squad? Because if you have a better matchup with one of your other running backs, then yeah. I mean, it's not like the Bills defense is easy to run against, and Gibby's going to have a field day on the ground. And we already know our coordinator is more prone to throwing it than he is running it. So right then and there, you start, with the de facto, if I can find a better matchup, I'm going to go to that better matchup. But if you don't have a running back that is a true starter in this league as a backup on your bench, or you don't have a better matchup, then you go with Gibby. It's not like the Bills defense is impenetrable, but, you still question how many opportunities is he really going to get. He had success against the Giants last week. He just didn't have enough touches. So the real question is, do you have a better option? If the answer is no, then you start Gibby. If you do have better options, then go with one of them. Let's see. All right, I think that's the only super chat that we have. So we'll get to the comment section. Use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air if it is pertinent. So Juan Gotti talking sports writes, do you think the Panthers are fraudulent 3-0? They played the Jets, Saints, and Texans, teams that aren't that good, and I kind of mentioned that already. I don't think they're fraudulent from the standpoint of the defense. I still question how good is the defense? To what level is this defense? Because, it's a lot of people like to throw out the phrase elite. Is this an elite level defense, or is it just really good? I already told everyone when Matt Rule got this job, he's going to turn this program around. I still think next year is the target year. He could just get to the party a year early. He could turn this thing around a year early, and they may, start winning ball games and go 10-7 this year. And Matt Rule's like, to hell with that shit you talking about. I'm ready to start it now. Cool. I mean, I just trust Matt Rule. He's a hard-nosed coach. You see how fast he talks on the sidelines? He's got that whole, I don't know where he's from, but he gives me New York / Philly, East Coast up north vibes, where he's talking a million miles per second. And he's very intense, spits flying out of his mouth. Like, he's that guy. And there's a reason that he's been able to turn around multiple programs at the collegiate level, and they expect him to do the same thing in Carolina. But are they fraudulent? I don't think fraudulent is the right term to use right now. More so, I gave you the explanation when I talked about buying or selling stock in some of those teams, or just passing on buying stock. And I passed on buying stock on the Panthers despite them being 1-0 at the time, and even now that they're 3-0, I just still think that they play in a division that I don't think is all that tough. Just Tampa really in there. They've already dispatched of the Saints. I don't think the Falcons are very good. So it's not like the division's going to hold them back. Even if they get swept by Tampa, they could still conceivably go 4-2 in the division and still have success there. But I just don't know if they've got enough offensively right now, especially with McCaffrey being injured. How consistent can Sam Darnold be? And how good is this defense? Because, again, they haven't played any real offenses yet. How good is this defense for real? And I think we'll get a real sense of that next week against Dallas. If they hold Dallas to 16 points, okay, yeah, and it's a legit 16 where Dallas didn't turn it over 3 times or have a bunch of penalties, and they weren't aided by mistakes by the Cowboys, but rather they just turned the faucet off and Dallas couldn't find their way. Then yeah, they're legit, and they may win some games just off the strength of their defense, simply put. So they could be this year's Washington for all we know, where they play a soft schedule because they weren't very good last year. They take advantage of that with a strong defense and an offense that's good enough. And you look up, and unlike Washington, who went 7-9 last year, they could easily be 9-8, 10-7 at season's end, and we could be talking about the Panthers knocking on the door of a postseason berth. So, I mean, to start out 3-0, it's hard in this league to win. I don't care who the opponents are. Still got to go out and take care of business, and they have been able to do that. So you got to give them credit. And they get 10 days off and that much time to prepare for the Cowboys. So, I want to see what they do. I won't call them fraudulent. I just don't think that we can put them in that category of, man, they're going to make the postseason. They're a really good team yet. But to call them fraudulent right now, I think is a stretch, just because their defense is so good. And regardless of whether we think that the teams that they played on the offensive side of the football haven't been very good, and that's why the defense has been able to stockpile the numbers that they have, that's a debatable conversation. And I'd listen, because I don't think any of those offenses we would describe as juggernauts. But with that said, you still got to go out and dominate. And that's always been my thing, is we can sit here and point at a team and say, hey, I don't believe, because these teams that you beat up on, they're garbage. I don't believe you. You need more people. But this is the NFL. You still got to go out and do it. And they did it. So I hesitate to call them fraudulent, but I got my eye on them. I'm watching them, and I'm like, I don't know yet. We'll see. But I know why you feel that way, Juan Gotti. I definitely do. Storm writes, I don't know if I really believe the Panthers are a good team, especially with those injuries, but man, does Houston stink. If Cully wins 6 games with them boys, give him Coach of the Year award. I can tell you this, they're not going to win 6 games this year unless Tyrod Taylor comes back off of this hamstring and plays the remainder of the season, and everybody else stays relatively healthy. They're just not a good team. But they don't have a lot of bad players. This is the thing. They got a bunch of guys, and they're mediocre guys, but they've got enough of those mediocre guys that they can beat teams that aren't all that great. If they play, Jacksonville again, they can beat the Jaguars. If they play the Indianapolis Colts, they can split with the Colts. They catch the Titans on one of those weeks where the Titans feel like tripping and they are able to just slow down Derrick Henry. They could beat the Titans one. Like, their division isn't very good. So they could fall into 6 wins. All you got to do is, beat the Bengals or somebody else that they're going to play, because obviously they were the worst team in their division last year. And, the Bengals were the worst team in their division last year. So they're going to play the Bengals. They're going to play some other bad teams in the AFC from a year ago. All they got to do is fall into a couple of those. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't. Houston stinks, but I feel the same way you do. I said all of that to say this. Houston does stink. And I don't trust David Culley as a head coach yet. He's got to prove to me that he actually gets it. I think he's a great people person. Guys will run through a wall for him. All of that is great. But, I mean, I don't know if this guy's cut out to be an NFL head coach or not. Maybe he's supposed to be a longtime assistant. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I'm rooting for him. I'm not impressed over these first 3 weeks. That is for sure. Got another super chat. This one is from Dejan Bell. Again, double up. Thank you for the super chat, Dejan Bell. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, do you plan on going to any live Washington football team games this year? Probably not. I'm not really too keen on going to NFL games in person. Now, if, the right opportunity presents itself, why not? I don't know if that's something that really tickles my fancy right now at this current juncture, especially with COVID and everything like that. And I told you, FedEx Field isn't something that does it for me. It doesn't move the needle for me. They get a new stadium, I'm there, but that's not till 2027 or something like that. So yeah, I've had the FedEx experience enough times to feel confident that I'm good at the crib. But I could definitely see me going to a ton of games when they get a new stadium. But again, you're talking about that being somewhat a decade into the future. So that's a ways off. Thank you for the super chat and doubling up, Dejan Bell. Storm also writes, also, the good old Thursday night stinkers are back. Hopefully the rest of primetime games this week get back to being really good. Weeks 1 and 2 spoiled us in that regard. Well, but you already knew that. Like, you didn't go into this game thinking that this was going to be a good ball game. You knew that this was going to be a stinker. And I'm not going to shit on Thursday night football because I saw a lot of that going on socials during this game. Oh, Thursday night football stinks and this, that. It's regressed to the mean and all of that. I've seen from different people. It's one bad game. They're 2 of 3. They're batting 6.6. It's 0.666667 right now. Okay, like 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Okay, every product so far has had one stinker to this point, and I don't think the next 2 games are going to be stinkers. I think we're going to get a really good ball game on Sunday night, Packers at San Francisco 49ers. I think we're going to get a really good ball game on Monday night, Eagles at Cowboys. So this was the stinker for the week. It is what it is. But we've been spoiled, and I think we're going to continue to be spoiled with these next 2 games. So we'll see what happens. Atlas says, I can only imagine the amount of chest beating Panthers fans are doing. Color me unimpressed. I think they're benefiting from a very soft schedule. They are, but you got to take advantage of a soft schedule. It's one thing to talk about a schedule being soft. It's another thing to take advantage of a schedule being soft. And that's what the Panthers have done. I'm not going to be mad at them for doing that. I know you're a Buccaneers fan. So, I mean, they're in the division. You hate seeing them start 3-0, knowing that they're just making your life that much more difficult because you want to win this division by week 12. Who are we kidding? Your division stinks. You know it. And you just want to dominate it and be done with it so that you don't have to worry about, going into week 16, needing to win to separate yourself from Carolina. And I don't think that's what it's going to ultimately come down to. You take care of business. You shouldn't have to worry about the Panthers at all. But again, they're 3-0. They haven't played anyone all that great on the schedule. We can all acknowledge that. But at the same time, you got to give them credit for getting the job done. It's funny. We always kill teams when they don't do the things that they're supposed to do. But when they do those things, we don't want to give them credit for it. Oh, they were supposed to do that. Well, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be on both sides of that, fence. You can't be at both ends of the spectrum. You have to pick a side and be on that side. And I'm on the side of, I'm going to give them their credit for doing the things that they're supposed to do. If we think those teams aren't very good, then beat them. Beat them. They've done that. So I'm going to give them credit for it, but I'm also going to keep my eye on them because I still think that there's a chance that they're not as good as their record indicates. So I'm going to keep my eye on them, but I'm going to give them credit for doing what they've done. And this is the thing I've said about winning games early in the season. Even if that team isn't as good as the record may indicate, you start giving a team confidence. And this is the thing I keep talking about. And that's what happened. I swear to you, that's what happened to the 2015 Panthers team. Okay. They started winning nobody had the 2015 Panthers as a Super Bowl contender. Nobody. Okay. You can go back in the archives and start looking at preseason predictions and not prognostications for that. Nobody had the Panthers anywhere near 15-1 and a trip to the Super Bowl. Okay. So the Panthers got off to a red hot start, and they caught fire and the confidence just swelled. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here, but that's the risk you run. That's the danger that you could find yourself in with a team that wins early, is that they start building confidence and they start believing we should win. And I told you what that is. It's a beautiful, vicious, flavor delicious cycle. Winning begets confidence. Confidence begets winning. Winning begets more confidence. More confidence means more winning. Man, you just rinse and repeat that. Next thing you know, you look up, you're 11-6 at the season's end. So I'm just saying, I think we should all acknowledge, and I think we all can at this point, that the Panthers, they're okay. They're not world beaters, not right now at least, but that defense is legit. And I think the jury's still out on the offense, especially without Christian McCaffrey. That really hurts them and hampers them. I think we all need to acknowledge that, okay, they've gotten off to a good start, but how good are you really? Just keep an eye on them. That's all. Give them credit for starting 3-0. Don't try to shit on them because they beat teams that we don't think are very good. They still had to go out and beat them. How many times in this league have we seen teams that we didn't think were very good play another team and come out with the victory? We've seen that happen before. You say, man, we should beat them, and you don't. They've taken care of business. So you got to give them credit for that. Got a super chat here from Silver V. My guy, Silver Villains. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, if Tyrod played tonight, it would have been a compelling game. By the way, Darnold is really better than Bridgewater? ? Yeah, I think so. I think Teddy Bridgewater is more. It's safer. Like the Darnold has, to me, higher upside, but there's also more potential for turnovers with Sam Darnold. So Darnold, I didn't think he played excellent tonight. He played okay, and he still threw for 300 yards. You know what I'm saying? Whereas with Teddy Bridgewater, he's had a couple of 300-yard games this year with the Broncos, but they've been some of the most 300-yard games I've seen. Like you're like, damn, you threw for 300 at the end of the game. You're like, he threw for 300. But with Teddy, he's going to take care of the football. Like with the Panthers last year, ask any Panthers fan last year if their offense at any point last year looked like it's looked, some of these games like it did last week against the Saints and in this game at times, even though they struggled to put points on the scoreboard. I guarantee you most Panthers fans will tell you they feel a lot more confident in the explosiveness of their offense with Sam Darnold under center versus Teddy Bridgewater, which is why you're asking the question, because they had Teddy Bridgewater last year and they couldn't wait. Panthers fans couldn't wait to get rid of Teddy Bridgewater, whether it was, hey, let's get somebody in free agency like Matthew Stafford, or let's get somebody in the draft. But we can't run it back with Teddy Bridgewater. They had seen enough of that movie. And I do think Sam Darnold is better than Teddy Bridgewater. Keep in mind, and you hate to go back to what a guy's draft status was, but there's a reason Teddy Bridgewater was the 32nd pick in the 2014 NFL draft. He was the 32nd pick. The Vikings traded back into the first round to get him, whereas Sam Darnold was a top 5 pick. I think he was 3rd overall, if I'm not mistaken, in that 17 draft. So, or 18, 2018 draft with Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield. So, and Lamar Jackson. So And again, that doesn't always tell the story, but a lot of people were high. I wasn't one of those people high on Sam Darnold, but I do acknowledge he does have talent, and I would be more fearful of a team led by Sam Darnold at cornerback than that of a team led by Teddy Bridgewater. So let me just say this. They're not that far apart. But to me, the upside of a Sam Darnold is a little bit greater than that of a Teddy Bridgewater. I think there is more that you can do with Sam Darnold as your quarterback than with Teddy Bridgewater. That said, it's not, that big. If we took Teddy Bridgewater and inserted him into this lineup with the Panthers right now, are they still 3-0? I think so. But are they hopeful that they could be something more than they were last year with Teddy? I don't know if they would be as confident because they saw Teddy last year and they felt like there were limitations. So we'll see. I think Sam Darnold is better than Teddy Bridgewater, but if you have what the Broncos have, which is, hey, we ready to go. We locked, stocked, and ready to go defensively. Just don't F it up on offense. You want Teddy Bridgewater for that. He's the man for the job. Because you can see Sam fumbled 2 times tonight. Like, Sam wants to turn the shit over. He wants to. He's begging to turn the shit over. Teddy is going to take care of the rock. Sam, there's no guarantees. All bets are off. And that's where the difference is for me, is one guy is extra cautious with the football. The other, he's living wild, free, and dangerously. And he's like, yo, I'm going to try to make this play. I might get stripped trying to make the big play, but, hey, y'all know what y'all signed up for. Teddy's like, hey, I'm going to run, I'm going to slide and take this 2-yard gain. Or I'm going to check it down. You don't have to worry about me, fumbling the football. So Sam might hold on to it and sling that bitch 40 yards and end up with a 70-yard touchdown, though. Like that throw to Erickson. That shit was beautiful. On the move to his right. I mean, Hargraves wasn't in bad position. He dives, stretches out for it, and it still goes right past him. It's a beautiful throw. That's what Sam brings. Teddy, I don't think Teddy Bridgewater's making that throw. So, anyway, I digress. Thank you for the super chat, Silver V. Emperor Meech writes, has anyone seen Robert Steven Anderson? Dude has been invisible. Robert Steven Anderson, help me. Who the hell is that? Should I know who that is? I'm lost, man. I'm sorry. I don't know who that is. I'm probably tripping. Let's see. He also writes, Darnold is playing solid, but he's still careless with the football as always. And that's the problem with Sam Darnold. I think ultimately they've been lucky because I've watched the first 3 games, and I think in 2 out of the 3, he had a chance to turn it over. I think the Jets game, they got lucky. I think he got stripped of the football, but they were able to recover. And then in this game, he got stripped twice, and they were able to recover both of those. So he's living dangerously, but at some point, you're not going to get all the bounces. The ball's bouncing their way right now, and they're getting lucky with these near turnovers. If these near turnovers turn into real turnovers, some of these outcomes of games could be vastly different. And that's the thing you worry about with Sam Darnold. Still going to put the ball in harm's way. Niners fan. Lou, the reason why Derrick Henry is the best running back in the NFL is because you can rely on him to stay healthy, unlike McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook. You know what? When you frame it that way, sure. I can, I think a lot of people don't put as much weight. You know what? When you look at a running back, an NFL running back, and really an NFL player for that matter, but specifically the running back position. I don't think we do this for any position, though. And we should do it more. You know how when you took courses in high school and your different assignments were weighted. So, yeah, you might have all hundreds on all of your classwork and homework assignments. But guess what? Classwork is worth 10% of your grade and homework's only worth 5%. And so you got hundreds on all of that. You got 100% there, 100% on that. but your quizzes are 30% of your grade, and the other 55% are your tests. And that's how it's weighted. So you can have 100 on the classwork and the homework, but you got a 75C on the quizzes portion, and you got a 81 on the test portion. So your grade is somewhere in that B minus C plus range, because you haven't been all that great where it mattered most. I don't think we put enough weight on staying healthy. I think we treat that like classwork, like it's 10% of your NFL grade that we give you. We put talent in that test category, like, man, dude's super talented. And we ignore the fact that this dude but these guys always get hurt. And they're going to miss games. And I don't think that's fair for McCaffrey, because up until last year, he never got hurt. He was Mr. Durable and reliable. But obviously the last 2 years, he hasn't been healthy. And we don't know the severity of the injury tonight, but he's going to miss some time. That's for certain. Dalvin Cook is already dealing with something. Seems like he's always dealing with something. He's always injured. And to your point, Derrick Henry is never injured. The guy is like a battering ram, and he's so durable. And, the thing I love about Henry that I've loved since his days at Alabama is that when he breaks one, he never gets caught from behind. Never. He stiff arms a guy and then he takes off. The same thing he did against the Seahawks this week. The guy's got an angle. I'm like, okay, he's gonna. And I told my dad, he's not gonna catch him. He's like, yeah, he's got the angle. I'm saying he's gonna stiff arm him and outrun him, and he did. Like, nobody catches this dude from behind, and you could be bottling him up all game long. He's got 21 carries and only 56 yards, and then just like that, 60-yard touchdown run. And all of a sudden, he's over 100, and now he's got it lathered up, and you can't stop him. I think people don't give Derrick Henry enough credit, because another thing that's not sexy with Derrick Henry, like these other backs, like McCaffrey, like Dalvin Cook, like Joe Mixon, and some of these other guys, that he doesn't catch it out of the backfield. Aaron Jones is another guy that's a really viable threat out of the backfield. He doesn't catch it out of the backfield as often. That's not his thing. He's more of a throwback running back. He would have been adored in the 70s, 80s, and even the early 90s. But because we live in this passing era of football, it's so easy to dismiss what Derrick Henry is. Because he's not sexy, he's not flashy like some of these other guys. But I think you're right, Niners fan. When you put together the entire package and you look at what he provides to Tennessee Titans, they literally ride his back on a weekly basis. When he goes, they go. If he doesn't play well, they usually don't win. I think Derrick Henry might be the best back in football. I think there is an argument to be made there for Derrick Henry. Thank you for the super chat, Niners fan. Got another super chat. Thank you for that clarification, Red Wings 01. Robert Steven Anderson would be one Robbie Anderson. I drew a complete blank there. Thank you for that clarification, Red Wings 01. I was definitely being slow. And you know what? That's okay. Sometimes you're allowed to have brain farts. Robbie's fine. Okay. Leave my guy Robbie alone. He's a deep threat that can get you short sometimes, but he hasn't been all that necessary early in this season. I think it was week 1 against the Jets that he got loose for like a 50-yarder for a touchdown, but hasn't really been that big because DJ Moore's doing the heavy lifting at the receiver position. So they haven't really needed Robbie. He'll be fine. Leave my guy Robbie Anderson out of this, okay? Thank you, Emperor Meech. Let's see where we left off. Already went past that one. Niners fan says, we've got a murderer's row scheduled the next 3 weeks. Packers, Hawks, and Cardinals. If we don't go at least 2-1 in that stretch, I don't see us being a legitimate threat this season. it's too early to be making those kinds of assertions, because you could go 1-2 in that stretch and still be 3-2 overall in the season. And we know that with Kyle Shanahan, you got a ton of injuries right now too. And so we know with Kyle Shanahan, at any moment, this team can catch fire, start believing in themselves, and all of a sudden you've won 8 out of 9. So I wouldn't go as far. And guess what? Let's say the one win is against the Packers, but you lose to the Hawks and the Cardinals. You get them again. So I wouldn't go as far as to make that statement, but I think you will get 2 out of the next 3 minimum. You might win all 3 of these games for all I know. So we'll see. I believe in the 49ers this year. I think they have to be more consistent on the offensive side of the football, though. And the defense looks legit, but you keep getting these injuries, especially in the secondary. Got to stay healthy there. We'll see about the 49ers. This is going to be a good test for them, the Green Bay Packers, because this is a team that you've dominated, because styles make fights, and they don't really match up well with the way you play football. Your brand of football is like the kryptonite for the Green Bay Packers. That's why the Saints had so much success in week 1, even though that's not necessarily who the Saints are. If you can run the football and play any semblance of defense, the Packers don't have any answer for that. It's almost like, I don't want to call the Packers soft. Somebody did that last week, calling them mentally soft. I don't know. I don't think they're mentally fragile, but I do think at times they do appear to be somewhat of a soft football team. And you know how I feel about their defensive coordinator, Joe Barry. He stinks even. So I think they're going to struggle to get stops on a consistent basis this season. So I think you could win 2 out of the next 3, maybe even all 3 of them, but you've got to play better on offense. I thought that you played down to your level of competition last week against Philadelphia. And not to shit on the Eagles, because I actually think they're not that bad defensively, but I thought you could have done more damage in that football game. So we'll see. JC Walters, who are your top 5 QBs in the league at the moment? I don't think that list has changed. I went into the season with, in no particular order, Rodgers, Brady, Wilson, Allen, and Mahomes. I don't think that has changed to this point. I don't think anybody's penetrated the top 5. I mean, those guys are who they are. We think, the jury's still out on Josh Allen. You know how I feel about Josh Allen, though. So I think those are your, 5 best quarterbacks. I think I said that right. Rodgers, Brady, Wilson, Allen, and Mahomes. And you put them in whatever order you want. I think that Derek Carr is playing at a really high level right now, but would he penetrate that top 5 and boot one of those guys out? And I know you said at the moment, but I'm not taking Derek Carr over those guys. Sorry, I'm not sorry. I'm not doing that. So is Derek Carr playing at that kind of a level? Can he keep it up is the real question. But right now, Derek Carr is sitting right there. Matthew Stafford's like, hey, don't forget about me. I think they're on that next wave after those 5. Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford, Teddy Bridgewater's playing really well right now for the Denver Broncos. But again, who have they played? You could argue, make that argument about what the Broncos have done to this point in playing the Giants and the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then they get the Jets at home. They're going to be 3-0 as well. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt right now. But I'm not putting anybody ahead of those 5 guys. Sorry, not sorry. But again, Derek Carr would be the one guy right now that you would look at and say, okay, he's playing right now to start the season at an MVP-like level. Lamar Jackson, you don't want to forget about him, but he's had some turnovers against the Raiders in that particular game. He had some turnovers that were backbreaking. So give me the 5 that I've already given you pretty much. But there are other guys playing well, but again, I'm not putting anybody ahead of those guys, because I know when it's all said and done, those are going to be the guys that are going to get it done. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Shout out to all the Mob Squad members out there. Stand up. We in the building. My guy Fat American writes, What up, Lou? My brother from another set of parents. I love how you put that. If I'm being honest, I'm thinking the Panthers will win their division. They're a damn good team. I will not go that far. I am not putting them ahead of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are one of, if not the best team in football. And until somebody knocks the Buccaneers off of their throne, until somebody comes and pries the championship away from your hands, you the champ. And the Buccaneers have shown me nothing right now to say that they're not worthy of continuing to reign over the league as champions. So until somebody knocks them off that perch, the Panthers are not on the level of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think it's even close. They'll play them twice this season. I think they'll give the Buccaneers a run from their money. Hell, they did that last year in that first game, especially where that was a close game until Leonard Fournette bust off the run late in the game to seal it, and put it away. They hung tough with them. I think they're going to be a defensive problem for most teams that they play. And I don't think Tampa's excluded from that, but I don't think they're better than Tampa Bay, so I can't see that happening right now. No chance, none whatsoever. Let's see. Condo P. What up, Condo P? How you doing? Writes, DJ Moore doesn't get enough media love, and he should. The funny part about DJ Moore is that he started off his career slow. And, a lot of people, made fun of him. Remember that video of Steve Smith going up to him and saying, "Hey, should I start you on my fantasy team this week?" And, he's kind of, because he's quiet. He's a quiet dude. He doesn't say much. He just goes about his business. And so Steve wants, Steve's a demonstrative dude. He wants a demonstrative. And like, hell yeah, you start me. He's like, yeah. And Steve could barely hear him like, yo, should I start you or what? And DJ's like, yeah. He's kind of like passive aggressive because that's his demeanor. Steve's like, yo, I'm going to start you. If I start you and you don't give me no points, I'm going to kick your ass. That's Steve Smith's personality. And DJ's looking like, okay. What am I supposed to do with that? Like, so that's his demeanor though. And guys like that tend to get overlooked, especially at the receiver position, because it's such a loud position. Guys are demonstrative. Guys are out here making big plays and letting you know about it. So it'll be hard for him to get the kind of attention at a position where the more noise you make, the more attention you get. He's not that dude. And he plays for the Panthers. They never have a dynamic offense. So it's easy to overlook DJ Moore. But a lot of people don't realize this. He went over 1,000 yards last year. DJ Moore is going to go over 1,000 yards again this season if he stays healthy. He's had a really good start to the season. Had another 100-yard game today. He's playing really well. But again, he's playing in Carolina. So a lot of people are just going to overlook him. They had 2,000-yard receivers last year, and Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. And I think DJ's well on his way to doing it again this year. Again, if he stays healthy, he'll do it. So I don't know if people will wake up or not, but he's a really good receiver. Those that know. He's starting to really look like the guy that everybody thought he was going to be coming out of Maryland. Because there was this conversation about, is this dude really a wide receiver, or is he a running back posing as a wide receiver? Because he was so physical with the ball in his hands after the catch. And, that was the same thing that people kind of put James Washington in the box for being, small, but Washington actually looks like a running back. He's got a running back build. But, that was the thing everybody kind of put him in the box is he looks like a running back trying to play wide receiver. And that was the knock on DJ Moore initially, but he's come out of that whole shell. And I think he's shown people, no, I'm a legit wide receiver. I can get the job done. So we'll see. Emperor Meech writes, how do you personally see the NFC, AFC shaping up playoff-wise at the moment? He said it's only week 3, but you get a feel for certain teams. I've kind of talked about that on the podcast, teams that I'm buying and teams that I'm a pass on and I'm selling. So that kind of gives you a little insight as to how I feel at the moment, with teams getting off to the starts that they've gotten off to and how I feel about them. And if I'm really buying what they're selling, I can tell you that we know what divisions are good and which divisions aren't going to be very good. So I can give you a quick little synopsis of that. We know both Wests are going to be really competitive and could easily send 3 teams to the postseason in both conferences. But if you wanted to start with the NFC West, really good. The team that comes out of that division could very well represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. And I think one of the representatives in the NFC Championship game will come from the NFC West division. They could easily send 3 teams to the postseason, and no one would bat an eye, honestly speaking. That division is that good top to bottom. The NFC South, I think that's a 1-bid division. You know, Tampa Bay, and I think that's it. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if Carolina starts to, continues to build confidence and stacks wins on top of it, because let's keep it a buck. This division in the NFC South, they play the AFC South. That's a bad division. Okay, that's 2 bad divisions playing each other. But if you're good, you're going to be able to eat. Like Tampa Bay is going to win 14 games, 13 games this year. Why? They play bad divisions. And when you play that bad divisions and you're a good team, you eat well. They're going to play Houston. They're going to play Tennessee. They're going to play Jacksonville. They're going to play Indianapolis. That could easily be 4-0 for Tampa Bay. So you see where I'm going with this. Carolina could easily get fat. If they're good, if they turn out to be legit, they could get fat off of the AFC South, eat off of their own division, which isn't very good. And you look up, they've already beaten the Jets. That was their one. They play the AFC East too. That's another stinky division. So you see where this is going, okay? They could get fat off of the AFC East, especially if Miami doesn't have Tua for a long period of time. I don't know when they play the Dolphins, but the Dolphins could nosedive with the quarterback position being what it is right now. Anyway, I still think that's a 1-bid league right now for the moment. Carolina could easily make it a 2-bid league, but that's Tampa right there. NFC North, I think that division isn't all that great either. I told you before the season I didn't believe in Minnesota. They're off to an 0-2 start. I told you that Chicago was probably not going to be very good this year. That hasn't changed. The Lions may be one of the worst teams in football. And then there's the Packers. So that's a 1-bid division, I think, right now. We can see. Time will tell. But I think the Packers are the lone team coming out of that division. And then the NFC East, I've always said that was a 1-bid division. But, we'll see what happens. Dallas, I think, is going to be legit if they stay healthy. I think Washington has a chance. I really do. I'm starting to buy what they're selling, especially, I told you the league didn't want Taylor Heineke to play. Now he's playing. I think that's going to be the difference between Washington, winning some games that I didn't think they had access to before and maybe not winning those games. Now the defense is going to have to step up. I expect them to. I could see the NFC East sneaking a second team in, but right now I think the wild card, that other wild card, because I think you're going to get 3 teams from the NFC West. So that's 3. You get 7 in each conference. You get the winner for the North, Green Bay. You get the winner from the South, Tampa. You get the winner from the East. That's either Dallas or Washington, I think. All right, so then you got 2 spots. You got 1 spot left, essentially. 1 wild card after the 3 division winners and the 3 from the NFC West. I think the difference is going to be Carolina or Washington/Dallas. I think that's the difference with the wild card right now, as it stands. Now, Minnesota can make a hard charge and get into that discussion because I don't think they're as bad as I thought, but I don't think they're going to qualify for postseason contention. So we'll see. And the AFC, same thing. AFC West could get 3 teams in, wouldn't bat an eye, okay? I don't know if the Raiders are going to continue to play this brand of football, but you can take the Raiders out, insert the Chargers. Who knows? I'm still not buying the Chargers yet. They have, I think, a set of issues right now that they have to overcome. They're not scoring enough points for me right now. And I think the defense, while it's good, I don't think it's great. So they're going to have to either start scoring more points or they're going to find themselves in too many of these 20 to 16 games that they'll find out themselves on the wrong end of. So they've got to improve on the offensive side of the football. But I think they could get 3 teams out of that division. Kansas City, definitely. We already know what it is with them. Denver, I think Denver's going to the postseason this year. I'm big on Denver. And Raiders, Chargers, you insert whoever you like. I think you might get another team there. But you're getting 2 out of that division for sure, okay? Then you go to the AFC North. I'm not sold on Pittsburgh. I'm not. I am really not. But I am sold on Baltimore finding a way and the Cleveland Browns. So there's at least 2 coming out of that division. Okay, so let's just go with the premise right now. 2 from the AFC West, 2 from the AFC North. Okay, so that means the AFC South, not a good division. That's a 1-bid division unless somehow miraculously Indianapolis is able to pull themselves from the ashes and get back into this thing. Unless the AFC conference as a whole is bad, I don't see Indy doing that. They're 0-2. Carson Wentz has 2 sprained ankles, and I just don't see them finding a way to navigate their schedule. Now, again, their division is really bad, but I just see the AFC South stinking. So I think that's Tennessee and Tennessee alone. Then you go to the AFC East. This is where things get interesting because we know Buffalo is supposed to be the cream of the crop out there, but are they? We'll find out. New England, interesting. I don't know about them. I know this. They are back defensively, and they don't even have Stephon Gilmore yet. Now, I don't know if they can score enough points. That's where I struggle with them, but they're not going to allow you to score a bunch of points. That's where I'm at with New England. If they stay healthy defensively, they're dangerous. Then you look at Miami. I don't really know about the Dolphins because the quarterback position really makes things complicated there. But everywhere else, they've got enough talent. So I'm not ready to give up on the Dolphins yet. Tua's injury, I think, is a little bit more serious than they're leading on. First, he doesn't have any cracked and fractured ribs. He'll be fine. He's day-to-day. Now, all of a sudden, he does have fractured ribs. Which is it? I think it's a little bit more serious than they're leading on. We'll see what happens there. Tua's ability to stay healthy is something that really frustrates me. So I'm not sure about the Dolphins, but I could easily see New England and Buffalo coming out of that division. I could see Denver and Kansas City in the West. I could see Indy in the South and 2 up north, whether it's Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland, or Cleveland and Baltimore. I can see 2-2-2-1. So that's where I'm at with the 2 conferences right now. See, I think I got a super chat. And I do. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Double up. Who writes, Sam Darnold has been impressive, man. I doubted him. He's been really good. I knew he had some talent. I'm not the biggest Sam Darnold fan, never have been. I don't know if I ever will be. But I've always acknowledged that he's had talent. And if you put him in the right situation, I've always felt like he was set up for failure in New York with that organization. They just weren't ready to have a young quarterback and help that young quarterback mature the way that it needed to, that a young quarterback needs to be nurtured to succeed in this league. They weren't set up at that time to be able to give that young quarterback what he needed to be successful in the league. So I'm glad he's getting another opportunity, man, because he's definitely got some talent, but he's still got some issues with turnovers. And I always worry about guys that come into the league with issues with turnovers. Jameis Winston was that way. Josh Allen was that way. And Sam Darnold was that way. And Josh Allen, the only reason I gave him a pass is because I felt like he was trying to do too much that last year with not a lot of talent around him. A lot of his guys went to the NFL that last year. So I thought, yeah, he's trying to do a little too much. But still, turnovers are an issue. When guys have issues with protecting the football in college where it shouldn't be as hard because the defenses in college aren't as complex. The athletes aren't as great. You got issues protecting the rock in the collegiate game. I struggle with that because it's only going to get harder at the next level. So that's the only thing I worry about with Sam Darnold is his ability to protect the football. But anyway, I digress. I'll take a couple more. We already hit our hour mark, so we'll get out of here in a second. But Red Wings 01 writes, I don't know what to think of the Panthers. I want to believe that they are a legit team, yet Sam Darnold has only looked decent, and they've only beaten bad teams or a self-destructing team in New Orleans' case. I totally get your perspective and where you're coming from. But again, I've said this already multiple times tonight. I'm going to give them credit for taking care of business. And not often enough do we give teams credit for taking care of business. We just expect teams to take care of business, and then we chastise them when they don't. but it's almost like you can't win. If you take care of business, oh, you were supposed to do that. These teams suck. But if you don't, oh, you're garbage. How did you lose that game? Like, can't have it both ways. I'm going to give them credit for taking care of business. You know what I mean? It's like getting an A in PE. I fuss at my kids all the time because PE is supposed to be an easy A. They're giving you an A. Just take it. Just take the damn A. But you'll be surprised at how many people bungle and botch getting an A in physical education. Okay. I'm amazed at some of these young kids out here, man. These young boys and girls out here that just don't understand it. I am giving you an A. Just take it. Just take the damn A. The NFL said, I am giving you a chance to start 3-0. Just take the 3-0 start. They did it. I can't be upset when you get the A in physical education. You know when I can't be upset? When you come home with a B or a C or something worse. What? I'm excited. They're 3-0. They've taken care of business. Now let's see where that leads them. We'll see. I understand all of the doubt and the skepticism. It should be there. It should be there. It should be there. And Red Wings adds, not to mention the injuries piling up. I think that's something that we definitely have to take into consideration. This is not the same team that started 3-0 without J.C. Horn and now Christian McCaffrey as well. It's not the exact same team. And now the competition level is only going to be greater. So it'll be interesting to see how, again, they got to circumvent those injuries. We'll see how they're able to do that. Niners fan says, Panthers have a favorable schedule. Won't be surprised if they make a playoff push. And this is why I said what I said about them. You know, don't sleep on them because you're thinking, oh, they haven't played anyone. They may not play a lot of good teams this season, like Washington last year. And again, they only were 7-9 was Washington. They just played in a really bad division. But Washington, you look at their wins last year, the only team they beat with a winning record last season was the Pittsburgh Steelers. All of their wins last year came against sub 500 teams. You know, beating Dallas twice and beating the Eagles twice and losing beating the Bengals and beating the 49ers. That's your 6 wins, and then you beat the Steelers for your 7th win. One team with a above 500 record. The Panthers may benefit from being bad last year and playing a bunch of bad teams this year. And the schedule is very favorable because they play a schedule that allows them to play other divisions that look like they're on hard times this year, like the AFC South. So I'm trying to think, which is it? Do they play the AFC South or do they play the AFC East? I'm trying to figure that out because they've played the Jets and they've played the Texans. Now, you know, every team has one game against, you know, a division, like the AFC East and the NFC East are playing each other. So I would assume the NFC South and the AFC South are playing one another. So maybe they don't play the rest of the South. Maybe they play the rest of the East instead. Now that I'm trying to make sense of everything in my head. And that would be a little bit more difficult. That would be New England. That would be and a team in this division, like a Buccaneers fan or somebody would know better than I. But I would assume that they don't play any more teams in the AFC South. They finished in last? No, they finished in third last year, second to last. They finished in third. The Falcons were the worst team in that division last year. And so the Texans finished in third in the AFC South. So that's why they played the Texans, because the Texans were the third team in their division last year, and the Panthers were the third team in their division last year. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say with 100% certainty they play the AFC East as a division this year because they played the Jets. They probably have to play the Dolphins, the Bills, and the Patriots. That changes things, okay? Because the Buccaneers are capable of beating every team in that division. I don't think the Panthers are. I could see them struggling with New England and Buffalo. So we'll see. Big Blue Rising writes, Tyrod about to lose his job to another QB. Yeah, I was just saying that to myself as I was watching this game, because, and I've already said, honestly, if you're the Texans, like, what do you have to lose at this point? Let's find out what Davis Mills is. Do we need to draft a quarterback? Because you're going to trade Deshaun Watson in the offseason for 3 first-round picks. That's going to happen. That's a thing. It's going to happen. Maybe even at the trade deadline this year, you're going to trade Deshaun Watson. You're going to get a boatload of picks. What do we need to do with those picks? Do we need to take a quarterback, or is Davis Mills the guy? I think you have to find that out right now. To hell with going back to Tyrod. You're not winning anything of note this year any damn way. This year is supposed to be about figuring out what guys need to be here for the long haul and which guys don't. And you signed a bunch of guys because you got a new GM and he wanted to turn the roster over in Nick Caserio. So he brought in a bunch of guys that he's familiar with, that he likes. So this roster is totally different. And I don't know if a lot of these guys are going to be here moving forward, but I think you have to do your organization a big service right now. And I think you would be doing it a disservice if you didn't find out if Davis Mills is anything more than a backup in this league. You need to play him this year. I really feel like they need to give this guy a real shot. So I could see Tyrod losing his job again. But I think Tyrod's cool with this. He keeps getting a check. He wants to play, obviously, but Tyrod Taylor's lasted a lot longer in the league than I thought he was. I'm happy for him. And he's still making good money. So we'll see. Juan Gotti writes, Lou, honestly, I think if Tyrod Taylor plays, the Texans may have caught the Panthers slipping. It's very possible. I don't know how this game goes. They were right there with the Browns a week ago, where the Texans at halftime before Tyrod goes down with the injury. So you may be right. I mean, they were definitely in this game with Davis Mills at quarterback. Excuse me, you insert Tyrod Taylor, it's a whole different ballgame. And, I don't know if this is the thing. I don't know if the Panthers are as aggressive. I thought they smelled blood in the water. They're like, okay, this young fella back here has no idea. His head's spinning right now. We just going to send the dogs after him. If that's Tyrod Taylor, I don't think they're as aggressive because they know you blitz 7, you blitz 6, Tyrod hits a seam, he's taking off on your ass. And I don't think they would have come after Tyrod as aggressively as they did Davis Mills tonight. But, that could have. But guess what? We'll never know. We'll never know. Let's see. My guy Ree says, didn't watch one snap of this game, Lou. I worked from 9 to 7 today. Didn't think I'd miss much. Looks like I was right. No, you were spot on. You didn't miss a damn thing. And you probably could already have predicted that the Panthers were going to win this game. You didn't need to watch to see. They were starting a rookie on a short week with his first career NFL start against this defense, the way they're playing. It was going to be really it's going to be really tough for them to come out victorious. They fought. This was a 7-6 game at halftime. They fought. They had the ball to start the second half and moved it to midfield or so. But David Culley decided he wanted to punt instead of going for it on 4th down or attempting a field goal. Matter of fact, it would have been a 57-yard field goal. So that means they were at the Panthers 39-yard line. So again, we're punting from the Panthers 39. Really interesting. After that, it was a done deal. They punt the ball and the Panthers took it the length of the field, scored a touchdown, and really the game was never the same after that. So I think we'll end the night with this one right here. My guy Ree says, must be nice to start off with 3 cupcakes in a row. The Panthers ain't shit, Lou. And you know what? He might be right. I don't think that's the case, but he might be right. The league sometimes puts you in a position to succeed and you got to take advantage. And the Panthers have. Sometimes the league sets you up for failure and you have to defy the league. The league set the Indianapolis Colts up for failure. Even though they were home games, they said, we're going to give you Seattle and we're going to give you the Rams, weeks 1 and 2. Good luck. Well, they didn't pass that test. Now they're 0-2, and Carson Wentz has 2 sprained ankles. That's going to be tough to get up off the canvas from. We're going to see how they respond. You know, I thought the league set the Raiders up to come out of the gates a little bit slow and stumbling out of the blocks. Home for the Ravens, at Pittsburgh. They passed the test, though. They're 2-0. So you never know how things are going to fall, but you got to take advantage of opportunities. If the league says, hey, man, we're going to toss you a couple, you better put them in the basket. We're going to throw you a couple of alleys. You better put them in the basket. You can't blow the bunny. Because if you do, it's only going to get harder from there. That's why it was important that the Panthers take care of business. It's only going to get harder from here. They don't see the Jets again this season. They'll see the Saints again. Whether the Saints are better or not, that remains to be seen. But I don't think the Saints are all that great. They're not going to see these Texans again. So you got to take advantage of these opportunities when they come. And they did that. So again, I'm going to give them credit for that. Now here come the Cowboys. Let's take a look at their schedule real quick. You know, we'll take a look at their schedule and then we'll get out of here. So it's Cowboys, then it's the Eagles at home, then they're home for the Vikings, then they're at the Giants, then they're at the Falcons, then they're home for the Patriots, then they're at the Cardinals, home for Washington, at the Dolphins. That's doable. It's very, very doable. So you can sit here and talk about, oh, they haven't played anybody. They could beat the Cowboys next week at Dallas. They could lose that game too. The next week after that, they're home for the Eagles. They can beat the Eagles. If that defense is what I think it is, they will gobble up the Eagles offense with Jalen Hurts. He'll have 106 passing yards, and they'll limit his rush yards to 47, and the Eagles will score 6 points. If that defense is what I think it is, Jalen Hurts will struggle. The Vikings, that's an interesting game. They could lose that game to the Vikings. That's at home, though. They could get to Kirk's ass and force Kirk into 2 picks. Who knows? They got the Giants at New York. Very winnable game. You know what I'm saying? Home for the Falcons. Obviously, that's family business. At home for the Patriots. That's a toughie. It's a toughie. At the Cardinals. That's a toughie. Home for Washington. That's a very winnable game, but it could be a toughie. We don't know what Washington will be at that point of the season. So I said all of that to say this. And then they still have, at the end of their schedule, Bills, Buccaneers, Saints, and the Bucks. They finish up with the Bucks twice in the final 3 weeks of the season. Guess what? The Bucks could not need either of those games by the time they get there. The Bucks could have that division sewn up by week 13 and don't need either one of those final 2 games. So who's to say what the Panthers do this year? Their schedule is very doable. Could they lose some games? And then you're damn right. They could lose to Minnesota. They could lose to Dallas. They could lose to Washington. They could lose to Philly. They could lose to the Vikings. Sure. They could lose to New England. Absolutely. They could win all those games too. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I got a super chat. That American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, every team seems beatable, not one dominant team. I don't know about that. We'll see. I don't think anybody's going undefeated. I think that ended with the Kansas City Chiefs losing to the Ravens, but I didn't think they were going undefeated anyway. One of the 3 best teams in the league, I believe, 2 of them are playing each other this week with the Buccaneers and the Rams. Somebody's has to go. And so you'll have one team left that I think has a legitimate shot of doing some damage undefeated wise coming out of that game. I feel like if the Buccaneers beat the Rams, they've got the best shot. If the Rams beat the Bucks, somebody's going to knock off the Rams. The Rams aren't good enough to go, 17-0, but the Bucks are. I don't think they will, but they are. But the Rams definitely aren't. Their division is too tough. Whereas with the Buccaneers, they play in a soft division, so they'll be able to take care of family business handily. There's no way the Rams are coming out of the NFC West unscathed. Someone's going to get them once, possibly twice, So there's that. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. A lot more of you guys showed up than I thought after this game because it was a snooze fest. I'm not going to lie to you. Thought a lot of you would be like, yeah, I'll catch them tomorrow. But y'all showed up, and I really do appreciate y'all for that. Do me a huge favor. If you're out there and you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Most of you probably already have done that. Hit that notification bell. Most of you have probably done that as well. So then there's only one thing left to do. Hit the like button. And if you haven't done that, please bless the kid on the way out. Get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man Louie T. Until next time, Panthers 24, Texans 9. Panthers are now 3-0 on the season, but it did not come without cost. Christian McCaffrey left this game in the first quarter with what we believe to be a hamstring injury. Could be severe, could be a lot less. We'll find out, but he's going to miss some time. And J.C. Horn, that's the more serious injury. We're hearing broken foot. We'll see if it's broken. You're still talking about 3 months. Probably more likely than not, he won't return until the latter half of the season. If you're talking ACL or Achilles or something along that line, those lines, he's done for the year. So we'll see what happens with J.C. Horn, but that's a big blow to this Panthers defense. But they get the win, but it came definitely with a hefty price. For the Texans, they're now 1-2 on the season. And look, I didn't think they were going to be very good this year. You lose Tyrod Taylor. We knew that was going to happen. I predicted that he was going to get hurt at some point. Didn't know it was going to be in week 2 for the second straight year, but it is what it is. They're going to struggle this year. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So we'll see what happens with the Texans moving forward. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys have a good one.
LouieTeeNetwork.